Hello, everybody, and welcome to Finding the Guardian of Your Soul. I am Lisa Shield, and today we have two incredibly special guests for you. I have been looking forward to this so much. We spoke a few weeks ago, and Natalie and Alex agreed to come on and share their amazing story with you. I think you're going to be so inspired by what you hear today. So let me introduce Natalie and Alex. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks for having
me. It is such a pleasure. It is so exciting for my audience to hear these success stories because they give women and men so much hope and faith in finding love and finding true partnerships. So first, I'm going to start with you, Natalie, because our journey began with you and me. And yes. I want to roll back time, if you don't mind, and go back to when you were single. Would you mind sharing what was happening in your love life before you met me?
Well, I can remember the day that I very first heard your name. I was sitting outside on my patio and scrolling my phone. And I think it was a Facebook or Instagram ad that I clicked on. And it was talking about the guardian of your soul and, everything that I'd been longing for. And so I clicked on it. And then I signed up for, I think it was called Breakthrough. Was it a breakthrough call?
And I even want to know, I'm going to pause you. What was going on? Like, tell me, where was Natalie at before she ever saw my ad? What was going on in your love life?
Oh, I was swiping, Lisa. I was swiping like a mad woman. And I was feeling pretty desperate.
Why? Why were you feeling desperate?
Because I felt I didn't know if love would be for me, if I could ever have what I was longing for. And I just felt really kind of victimized a little bit. I mean, there's no good men where I live. And I was finding every thought I could think of to just continue that story of being lonely, being single, feeling really kind of graspy, kind of desperate, like constant swiping, looking, searching, and just really going out with people and feeling not connected to them. Just really a lot of first dates.
A lot of first dates. Yeah. Have you had boyfriends before? Did you have relationships?
Yeah, I had about 4 semi-serious relationships, 2 that were pretty serious in my life. So I'd had relationships, but at the time I'd been single for at least 2 years when I crossed you.
Were they avoidant men? Was it just the wrong time? What happened? You don't have to go into too many details, but can you share for the women who were struggling like you were?
Yeah.
Before you found me?
I mean, I wasn't really aware that there was a pattern, but when in the course we do a kind of worksheet where we inventory relationships, it wasn't actually until I did that I really connected the pattern within that I'd been with, being that they were, every single one of them was avoidant, actually.
Wow. And when we say avoidant, just for anybody who doesn't know, what does that mean, Natalie?
I mean, it's an attachment style. So it's a way that people attach in intimate relationships with the person that they're being intimate with. And typically it's a lot of like come forward, pull away, a lot of kind of cat and mouse chase, and feeling like there's not, it doesn't feel secure. It doesn't feel safe. And I was kind of the anxious one who always felt worried was read into things a lot and really ruminate. And then they would come and go and pull away, and just kind of was a pattern. And sometimes it would take time for that to come out. Like it was a year in that it would start to really get bad. It wasn't always from the very beginning. It was really interesting connecting the similarities in the behavior.
In the course. Let me ask you, do you mind sharing what your age was at that time when you first found me?
Yeah, I was 35.
35. And you live where?
In Salt Lake City.
So when you said earlier that you thought, oh my God, there's no guys here and I'm never going to find someone. Were you born in Salt Lake City?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Salt Lake City and lived here most of my life. I've lived in a couple other countries for short periods of times, but otherwise I'm here in Salt Lake.
Are you, that begs the natural question, is it Latter-day Saints, Church of Latter-day Saints?
No, I'm not.
You're not?
Yeah, no. Yeah, LDS, that's what the term is. And I'm not of the kind of dominant faith, I guess you could say. So that was one of my talk tracks was, well, it's because I'm not Mormon, and that takes out 40% of the population right there. I had all these stories that I told myself,
not knowing it was you.
It was me. It was me.
Yeah, I mean that a beautiful young woman like you couldn't find one nice, great guy in Salt Lake City. It wouldn't even make sense from an objective, person's point of view. That would make zero sense. And so you were swiping away. I know, you were getting to the wanting to have children and starting to feel that desperation and wondering if this was going to happen for you. And you said you heard my ad. Yeah,
I did. And I was feeling very down at that time. And had probably been on a first date the night before, I wouldn't doubt. And probably I was going on a lot of first dates. So I clicked on it and I signed up for the breakthrough call and I met you.
Yeah, I was doing the calls then. I haven't been doing them as of late, but I actually did your call, and of course I remember it. I have to say, I fell in love with you on that call. I think you're just one of the most darling, lovable women I know. So truly, and I wanted so badly for you to do it. I knew, you didn't know what I knew. Yeah, because I've been at this for 20 plus years, but I know when I can help somebody. I know when I can change someone's life. And what made you tell everybody who's listening, because those breakthrough calls can be the gateway to another life, right? Yeah. It can be literally saying yes on that call, can be saying yes to a whole new life. Why did you say yes? And what was it that happened on that call? What was your breakthrough that made you say, I'm going to work with her?
Really, it was the way you spoke about what's possible and the hope that I truly felt coming from you and your heart. Like I could just feel your genuine nature in the program and in your mission. Like I could really feel that it would work for me, and never felt that. I had been really discouraged and feeling very desperate and sad about being single for a long time. And I can remember tears. I can remember feeling emotional and crying. So I was like, okay, there we go. That's a good sign. And I just felt really connected to you pretty much. I felt really safe and confident speaking vulnerably with you. And I think like I've done a lot of spiritual work and I've done a lot of work on myself. And I know that you can't grow if you don't have a safe container. And if you don't have community, that it can be really hard. Yeah. And really my romantic relationships is the only area of my life that I hadn't worked on solely. I had a business coach. I have a Reiki master. I have, all these coaches, all these courses. And the one deepest longing of my life was to find love and have a family. And it was the one area I had never solely focused on. So it I'd never heard of it, Lisa. I'd never heard of anyone doing this work. And then when I met you and just your heart and your program and your messaging, I signed up right on the call.
You did. I know.
I didn't even take time. I was like, sign me up, Lisa, get me up, get me in there.
And it's that kind of decisiveness, that makes such a great client, Natalie, when somebody just says yes. And it's so clear and it's so like right on that call, that's when we know we've struck gold because it's a great match. So I'm going to hit the pause button because I want to go over. I'm sitting here out of the corner of my eye watching Alex and looking at this man staring at you and the way he looks at you. And I am sure you have many friends. I'm guessing, I don't know, but I would think that you would have many friends that would think, oh my gosh, I want a guy who looks at me the way Alex looks at Natalie. That's every girl's dream, to have a man who just looks at her with such love. And Alex, I know a bit about your story, so I want to bring the women, the listeners up to speed with what was happening with you. Because one thing before you start that I was so struck by is how you're a man and you were struggling with a lot of similar things to Natalie, a lot of the same fears, a lot of the same doubts that this would ever happen. And women don't think about, oh, guys are going through the same thing. They just think, oh, men get to chase women and pick them, and they just pick us like, a ripe apple off a tree. I don't know, and it's so easy for guys, and we have to sit and wait to be chosen. I want you to share because you're such an amazing guy. And I want you to share with the women what you were going through.
Sure. Well, I don't feel like I felt like I needed to be picked. Actually, I didn't feel like I had that ability to just pick people, but I'm from Ohio originally, and I was new to Salt Lake. Just gotten out of a pretty serious relationship, and I gave myself a lot of time to just focus more on myself. And when I was ready to get back out there, we met on one of those social apps. But I'd been on a few dates, not as many as Natalie has been on. Attest to that. But everybody seemed pretty emotionally closed off. I just was longing for a family. I was longing for a partner out there in the world, and just wasn't finding anybody. So when we had our first date, I was obviously struck by her beauty, but her physical beauty, but also her emotional beauty, as well as her openness. There was something that I didn't see in a lot of other women, and it just kind of showed that she put a lot of work into herself. And so,
and Alex, let me ask you, just for women to understand, what was it when you say that she was emotionally open and you were struck by her emotional awareness and all. Can you describe that? Is there a way you can articulate what that was for you and what it felt like for you as a man? How she made
Sure.
you feel?
Yeah, it made me feel very comfortable, but it was her ability to, express herself freely, about how she was feeling, what she's been through in the past, what it took to, for her to get to where she currently is, was, and, just that openness, her ability to kind of talk about herself, something that was, relatively unique.
Mm-hmm.
Across the pool of women that I saw as a result.
Tell me what was different? Was it that other women were more manipulative in the way they did things? Was it that there was more drama? Was it that you felt like you were having to pull things out of them?
I think more so having to pull things out of them, just not as open and likely to kind of share how they feel and who they are, get to know me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that really makes sense. It's kind of hard.
No, but one of the things we teach in our course is how important it is to what we call this mirroring a man's masculinity back to him, and being insatiably curious about that man. And I think a lot of women want men to be insatiably curious about them, but they don't get that this is a two-way street, right? Did you feel those things from Natalie?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Right from the get-go,
Mm-hmm.
I felt so comfortable from start with it.
Our first date was pretty long. Like,
really long.
I didn't in the past normally agree to dinners because I was like, you got to keep this short, get in, get out, see what's going on. But he offered a very nice date to my very favorite restaurant, which he didn't know was my favorite at the time. And I just thought, okay, let's try this. So we met for a drink. Then we had to wait because it's a very popular restaurant was a couple of hours. And then went to dinner, and then he walked me home. Like it was like we didn't walk to say goodbye.
Right.
And and then it just was so I think both of us numerous times on the first date said, I feel like I've known you.
Oh.
Yeah. It's hard to put into words, that feeling that you get when you just immediately connect with somebody like that. It's something that I had never experienced before. That feeling as though you've known the person for, a very long, extended period of time, and not only known them, but been deeply attached to them in some sort of way.
Wow. And you're such a secure guy. Like, it's so clear that that you really are a secure guy. And I say this in the best of lights, like you really feel like a what you see is what you get kind of person, that so, which is lovely. You did say something the last time we talked, which I really want women to hear, that you were longing to meet someone and have a family. And you were also starting to worry that you may have to meet some 25-year-old girl, just, this was not what you wanted. But you were really worried that you weren't going to meet a woman your age in time to be able to have a family and to do this.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely where my head was. I thought I need to settle for something else rather than the person that I truly wanted to be with.
Mm-hmm. And you wanted a woman your age. It sounds like somebody who you would have more in common with, who would be more mature.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to you, Natalie, for a minute, if we may. you decided to sign up. And thank you for doing that. And talk about like, what was your first big breakthrough? Like the thing that you just went, oh my God, I am so glad I'm doing this.
Oh, there were so many. There were so many. I don't know about the first, what that would be, but there were so many impactful situations, moments, aha moments, like from the calls, listening to the other women, which I wasn't sure if I would love the calls. And I did. I loved them.
Let me ask you a question. What was it that you were unsure about? Was it that women were going to have a lot of drama and you were going to have to sit and listen to a bunch of, stories and think, oh my God, I don't relate? What was it that what you were worried about? And what was it that you wound up loving about them?
I think I was a little bit worried about whether or not people would really be dropping into their vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Be really heartfelt and like transformative.
Mm-hmm.
So the kind of victim storytelling that people get in, that I had been in, that situation, those were probably my concerns. And that was not, because that's not the space you hold. That was not the story. That was not what played out. And I went on the calls at work. I shut my door and put a do not disturb sign on my door at work. And I told my employees, don't come in here it was an hour and a half or however long. And I was planning on just missing those weekday calls because I didn't think that I would feel the need to be at them, but that was not true. I was looking forward to being on them. And if I did miss, I would go back and listen to them.
That's great. That's really, really wonderful. And yes, I have very low tolerance for victim stories, and it's just not the way we're going to get there. And so there's one thing of genuine emotion and vulnerability and all, but coaching is not about being a victim or staying in that victim place. So we are not a space for that, neither Benjamin or me. And was he on the calls when you were there?
He was.
Yeah.
And it was very, very incredible to watch you and Benjamin's interactions with each other, to hear his perspective and his voice from a male. Mm-hmm. And also I just thought, I want to meet someone like Benjamin.
And you did.
I did.
You met your younger version of Benjamin. I mean, I can feel in Alex's energy that there's a lot that, but so Steve,
I've never met him. So.
Yeah. Well, hopefully one day, I really do hope that you get to meet him, Alex. He's a really wonderful man. And I think the two of you would really like each other. I do. He's about as good as they come. Everything you would ever think about what it means to be a man and all. And I'm sure you possess, most, if not all of those qualities yourself. You would find a lot in common with him. But so the calls were great. You referenced your relationship inventory where that was a revelation for you.
Yeah, that was a big one. I think connecting the similarities, and then actually the final 5, the of getting to that and realizing how much that didn't line up with what I had previously thought that I needed or wanted.
Yeah.
The things that actually were the core, when I got down to it, things were so much deeper and so more foundational than what I had previously been thinking. And there wasn't really much vanity in it at all. It kind of just shed all of that. Yeah. And what it really ended up showing me was that I really hadn't been attracting or calling in the people that had these final five. And I actually went back, maybe 6 months ago and reread my final five. And I went to Alex and said, you have all five. You have all five of them. And he was like, what are you talking about?
Oh, that's so sweet. I was speaking to someone, a friend the other day, a woman who I met recently, and she said, oh, I watched your presentation and I came up with my final five. And I said, no, you didn't. I was like, no, you didn't come up. And I couldn't really get her to hear me when I was explaining to her. She said, well, no, I know myself very well. And I know all of these things. And I spent real time doing this. And I tried to explain to her that this is a very in-depth process. And it's not something you just invent. It's something that's revealed through doing this relationship inventory and then going through this final five sequence. And it's not something that you can just come up with. You have to, at least my final five, when I talk about this, it's a whole process that takes, 1, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks in the program to actually do it and do it right. And the women will go through their histories, their relationships, and it's eye-opening for them to start to connect the dots the way the process connects them. And also, one thing I will say is this is not a therapy process, right? It is very much a coaching exercise that takes you from the past to the present moment and then sets you up to go out and date in a whole new way. So it's many people point to that as the turning point for them in their whole dating journey. Was it like that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It helped me get to the core of what truly was going to feed me and going to create a long-term loving relationship for me. And I also the coaching that you gave me around withdrawn men and how secure men are going to feel versus how avoidant men are going to feel to me, my nervous system, to me, dating, and that process of the security and the kind of more constant, it's more calm, it's more grounded. Yeah. And sometimes if you're really in the story of the avoidant chase, that can be kind of addicting and that it can feel sort of, can feel good. It always leads to bad, but it can be kind of fun. It can feel kind of good in the beginning. And talking with you and a lot of other women as well about that process and the difference to look out for, to know, to feel into. And because when I met Alex, I was like, I think I found myself a secure guy. Because you'd explained what it felt like. We never had the up and down. We never had the love bombing, the fireworks, like any of that stuff. It just was really constant, stable, safe, grounded, nourishing. It felt
nourishing. I love that.
Yeah.
It's soul food.
It is.
It really is. It's soul food. It feels so good. And it's not, a lot of women, when they find it, they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. They can't believe that something can be, that a man can be that steady and that constant and that consistent, and they're waiting for him to just turn around and go, okay, this has been fun. I'm out of here. But with a really wonderful, mature, secure man that, it just keeps going. And it really does, at least for me, it just gets better as you let go of that old paradigm and you step into this one. It gets better and better and better. So when you met Alex, you two met while you were in the course. Is that right? You still hadn't finished.
Right.
And can you share a little bit about that? You talked a bit about your first date.
Mhm.
Where did you meet? Every woman, every person who's listening is going, okay, where'd she meet him? I'm going to get on that site because, all the Alexes have to be on that site.
Yep. Met him on Bumble.
Nice.
So, yep, we met on Bumble and we chatted for probably a week or two. I think he had some work travel and then I had some travel. So we chatted for a couple weeks and then we went out and it was probably what week do you do photos at, Lisa?
Usually like the third or fourth week.
So I think maybe I was late doing my photos because I think I kind of resisted them, if you remember a little. I had my profile written.
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin had already helped me with that. So mine was written via Benjamin helping me. And so that part was done, but my photos were not done yet. Actually, I had my photo shoot the day of our first date.
So other than the fact that she's just so beautiful, what captured you? What captured your attention with her profile?
Oh,
What was it about her? Do you remember? That's okay.
in a screenshot of I think maybe showed like some sense of adventure, or portrayed, her as being adventurous and open to, new ideas. I really enjoy traveling. I know that's something that we connected about was traveling initially, but in regards to the overall layout of the profile itself.
Well, it's very short on Bumble. Yeah. Benjamin calls them dating haikus because
they are.
It's so short, but had you posted your new photos?
No, I gotten them taken the day
that
went
you
out.
Hadn't even posted them.
Yeah, so I actually have the photos from the day we met, and when he proposed to me, he had printed out photos of all of our firsts, like a photo from each first that he laid down as he was asking me to marry him. And the first photo he put down was a photo of me from the photo shoot, and he was like, "And here's a photo." The day that I met you. I was like, oh my God, so cute.
Oh, sweet. How sweet. Well, you just shared that you are engaged. Now let's go back a little bit before that. Something else happened. Do you mind sharing about what happened?
No,
Natalie?
I don't mind. So when I was finishing up the course, I actually was struggling with some health issues, and I had been prior to meeting Alex, but they were getting worse as time was going on. And I was diagnosed with endometriosis and should have been a routine outpatient surgery. And my bowel got nicked in the surgery. So I woke up in the hospital and with a very different plan than I had gone in with, and had an ileostomy bag, and just thought to myself, there goes the guy. He's not going to want to be with me, because we'd gone on 5 dates, maybe 5. I mean, not a ton.
1 or 2 handfuls.
Yeah. And he came and visited me at the hospital. And I moved into my parents' basement. They put a hospital bed in the basement, and he would come over and lay with me in the bed. And have dinner with my parents and sleepovers in the hospital bed. And we just bonded so deeply and so vulnerably so fast because of that. It really brought me to my knees, being sick like that and having that happen. And that was the true testament to his security and his was hit the way that he showed up for me in that. And how safe I felt being at my lowest around him, and the space that he opened for me to just feel safe to be where I was when I was there. And we really, really got to know each other quickly, really quickly.
You know, Benjamin almost died once. He got bit by a flea and caught typhus. And he was describing, a friend asked him what it was like to be that sick. And he said he felt like an egg without a shell. And I thought that was the most beautiful thing. And for anybody to feel that way, just cracked open, and to feel so defenseless and on the edge of death in many ways, because you almost died on that operating table.
I could have, yeah. And it was unforeseen and not planned. So it was really a scary time in my life. It's probably the most vulnerable health-wise for sure that I'd ever been. And every fear, every worry, every pain just came to the surface in that time. And there were days I didn't know how I would even wake up. Like, that's like how much pain and how sick I was. And Alex was just right there by my side, giving me encouragement, loving me, and just holding me through it. And I don't know that I would have could have made it through without him. And I felt so lucky. It all felt so planned out in my favor that I had met you, signed up for the course, and had already met him when all of that happened. Because what really got me through it was. So.
And you had an angel, had an angel by your side. That's so beautiful. Beautiful. And I'm so happy
when I have her by my side. Easy to be that angel. Yes, if you want to. So.
Well, I think we have angels in our lives. I think they're walking this earth and they're right next to us. And, I've had angels in my life. I know what that feels like. So, and I've been that for Benjamin. When we talk about being guardians of each other's souls, all the in between stuff, that's like the icing on the cake. But I feel like I'm here for the hard times. I feel like the hard times are, that's what I'm here for. Everything else is just all the great stuff. But I'm here for whatever he needs me for. And it sounds like you both are that for each other. And so you got well.
I got well.
You got well. And here you are now. You're engaged, which is amazing. How long after you met Alex did you propose?
It was 1 year and 89 days.
I love that he knows that.
I truly did the math on the day that we met.
Benjamin can rattle it. He could tell you exactly how many years to the day we've been together. To the day. That's wow. Great. I love that. And so how did you know that she was the one?
I mean, again, just kind of going back to that really unspoken, it's an indescribable feeling that you have about somebody. I knew that I had, a good one on my hands, from the moment I met her. But, everything that we went through, health wise, and just how close we stayed and how much we grew together. I just knew that, she was the right one for me. Again, both of us felt like we've been connected in some other plane or dimension, some other life at some point. And it just felt so easy with her. She's so determined, so driven. And those are some of the big factors that went into me saying, okay, it's time for me to propose. She's got her stuff. She's absolutely amazing. So many different facets.
So tell us about the proposal. Tell us how you proposed. Women we want to know that too.
Well, I was in cahoots with her. So her sister-in-law is a buyer for a jewelry company. So we're working together. To design a ring and a couple bands. So I was up to a bunch of sneaky things around that time. And I feel like she, had an idea that it was going to come. But we went up to the mountains, and we were supposed to stay in a hotel, overnight. I had a nice room picked out, but when we got there, they said you've been upgraded to one of the chateaus or one of the cottages.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I knew it started with the C, but I looked over at her and I'm like, oh man, she knows something's up. But we got into the cottage, and I was very nervous, obviously, but I didn't plan going in, and sat her down, and we talked about the pictures. Natalie mentioned them, but kind of went through and just said, this is the first time I met you. This was the first impression that I had of you. This was our first wedding together, our 1-year anniversary. Excuse me.
First trip
together. And then the last one was a picture of the sonogram of her baby that we had. It's about time that we get married.
Oh.
Yep.
And that is another miracle. Do you want to share about that?
Yeah, we're having a baby girl, and we both have wanted families for a long time. And I was told that I might have a hard time getting pregnant naturally. My hormone levels significantly dropped. My egg reserve levels significantly dropped from the trauma of the surgery that I underwent when they nicked my bowel. And so the fertility clinic gently mentioned, you might want to start considering IVF or start considering, support with fertility. And so we had a conversation about, well, let's give it a try before we talk about investing, the money. And also with my health being a hormonal, endometriosis is a hormonal issue, a little nerve-wracking thinking of injecting hormones into my body at that point in time. So we thought, well, let's just see if it can happen for us. And then it did, within. So it felt like a really special miracle. And one of the things I thought about Alex when I first met him is he's going to be a really good dad.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this man put on this earth to be a dad. This is
a lot of dad vibes.
Yeah, a lot of dad jokes. And so I just there's no one I would rather be parents with a parent with. I mean, I just think of how much he came into my life, and I have a chocolate lab, a dog who's my baby, and they bonded so quickly, and he just cares for him and nurtures him. And sometimes I think that Teddy prefers Alex over me, which pisses me off. Like, first, you're my baby.
Oh, how wonderful. So you're going to be a dad, Alex. Oh, wow. That is so amazing. And you moved in together recently. You're living together in this beautiful home.
We are.
Yeah.
We live together and we have so much fun together. Like, he's my best friend and always want to be with and spend time with. And I don't know. I don't ever feel like, oh, I want to get away from him. I always feel like I can't wait to go home and see him and be with him. I've never had that before. And I've never had a best friend by my side.
Likewise.
So.
Out of town for 3 days this past week, and I was like, "Where's my best friend?"
Oh, Natalie, what is it like? Talk about, like, what if you hadn't done this work? What if you had just left it up to chance? I mean, I know that you and I are both alike in that we really value personal growth. We value investing in ourselves, knowing that, we can put all the money into our businesses or into, the bank or whatever and have money grow, but no investment can be compared to the investment in us, in our personal growth, in our emotional, mental well-being. So can you talk about that? Because I know it's really a value for you.
Yeah. I've always been a big proponent of getting help and support from people who have studied and devoted their lives to areas. And honestly, if I wouldn't have done it, I think I'd probably still be single.
Wow.
I think that, I could be in a relationship, but I don't know that it would be one that's this solid, that's this forever. And I have thought about that. I have thought about how my path might have unfolded if I wouldn't have really dug into the core of work that you offer. And I had read books about relationships, and I had sort of worked on it with my therapists or my life coaches. So I was familiar with attachment style. I was familiar with some of the things that you talked about, but I had never, in a saturated manner, gone through the structure and the flow that you so geniusly map out. There is a magic to the process, to the kind of unfolding of your own self to yourself, so that you wake up in it realizing it actually was me. It was me holding me back from the future that I desired. And once I had that aha moment, once I kind of came full circle to it, there was no way it wasn't going to work out for me.
Right.
And it took that process, and it took that space and that holding that you offer for me to come around to it. Because I had some of the pieces, but they weren't in the right places, and they weren't held out for me in the right way. And so I have talked about your course with a few women. I actually spoke with a really sweet woman who's a sister of one of my friends at Super Bowl party that we were at. I don't know if you've heard me talking to her, but she was expressing how lonely and sad she is just dating, and how just kind of lonely it is, and how sick of it she is. And I said, oh, believe me, that's where I was at. And I started talking to her about your course. And when I do, a lot of times I start crying.
Oh,
The work that you're offering is so needed
yeah.
for a lot of women. And I am so eternally grateful
Oh,
for the work that you do, and for the life that you've lived and led to for you to be able to offer this. And I would recommend it wholeheartedly to anyone who wants to meet their person and have the life that they've been longing for, because it works. Like, that's what I can say. Like, I could sell it all day, every day to anyone who listen to me, because it's the truth, because there's so much heart in it. And because if you follow it, if you do what it's mapped out to do, it works.
Oh.
And I thought that I might die alone with my dogs. So here we are.
And I thought I might die alone, Natalie. That's the whole thing, that there is a system to this that people don't even realize. And it's not just luck. It's not just, oh, she's beautiful and she got lucky. No, you went through some really disappointing relationships and heartbreak and struggle. And as pretty as you are, as successful as you are, none of those things mattered when it came to love and partnership. This was a whole different thing. But I think what's really wonderful is, for people who are listening, I mean, this course really has a very spiritual foundation, in that love is the most spiritual thing of all. You couldn't have a really good program about finding love if it didn't include all of these spiritual ideas, right? Principles. But then there's this whole other just very practical part about it, that we make it fun. We make it easy. We show you how to connect with wonderful men, and to do it in such a natural, heartfelt, playful way that's so genuine, right? And so it's not gimmicky. It's not pretentious. It's not, it's very down to earth and doable. So I just have to say that you have been such a gift to me in my life. You have a huge heart place in my heart. You have a place to stay when you come to Santa Fe. I'm not just offering it. I'm telling you, I want you to come. I've told Benjamin I'm looking forward to you coming. So I told him that he's going to just love Alex, which I know he will. You two are going to so connect. I mean, there will be such a real connection there. So please come. I mean it. And good luck to both of you with everything, especially with this little baby girl that's on the way. I just hope that it's, that everything goes smoothly, and, she's going to be a miracle, and she is going to be just one of the luckiest children alive, to have both of you as parents. I mean, to have two such, conscious, loving, handsome, good-looking parents. This is going to be a beautiful little girl, and a very, very, very loved child. And I hope she's, the first of others. I hope you have more. And I look forward to just staying in touch. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Natalie, if anyone was on the fence, if there was a woman who was doubting making this investment, what would you say to her?
To do it, even if she's scared, because it is the greatest gift that you can give to yourself, is to heal yourself and to attract the love of your life and the love that you've been longing, and that it is the best investment I've ever made in myself. And look who I have by my side, because I did it. Like, I just, if it wasn't successful and didn't work, then I wouldn't be here speaking to it. I truly, truly believe that it's the answer to anyone's need for this, because it was a miracle. It really changed the projection of my life in so many positive ways, even outside of my relationship with Alex. Like, it really helped me be more of my authentic self and helped me be a better version of myself. And so it works, and it's amazing. And you'll meet friends and have a community as well. I mean, it just, do it. That's, I'll say, just
thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm Lisa Shield, and this has been Finding the Guardian of Your Soul. I am so grateful to Natalie and Alex for being here. One of my favorite couples of all time. I just can't even, well, you can tell that I'm a super fan of theirs. So this is the greatest gift to me, is that I get to work with some of the most incredible women on the planet and help them make their dreams come true. So Natalie, I couldn't do what I do without you. So thank you for what you gave to me as well. Because, I get to work with women like you and help you make your dreams come true. Please go to lisashield.com, click that button to watch my free 45-minute presentation. That's where Natalie's journey started and where your journey can start too. I also ask you to rate and like my podcast. Send us your requests for future topics to podcast@lisashield.com. Also, come on our Getting Inside the Right Male Mind episodes with my husband, Benjamin, and me, if you'd like to see the two of us in action or hear the two of us in action. And I guess that's all. Just tell everyone you know, your sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles and friends, your guy friends, your girlfriends, your mother, your father, anyone who's looking for love. Please tell them about this podcast, because we want to get the word out. We're saying things in a very different way than other people are saying it. It's from the heart. We don't teach you to play games. There are no strategies or tricks when it comes to finding love. This is a matter of the heart. So please, please follow us and go to lisashield.com and let your journey begin, and let us help you find the guardian of your soul. Thank you again.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.